And you're on.
Welcome. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. This is the Jungle Chasers Show. We come to you on Thursday evenings. We hope to entertain you and educate you about the weather. My name is Patty. I am the regional coordinator for Southwest Missouri Skywarn. My call sign for amateur radio is Katie0AEL, and I'll kind of narrate this along as we go tonight. And we have some special guests with us tonight. We hope you enjoy the show. I'm gonna go around the table here and start with Franklin and let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
Hello, my name is Franklin. My amateur radio call sign is KD0RSJ. I am the Greene County Director for Greene County Skywarn. I also assist with the regional Skywarn as needed as well. So I will go ahead and pass it off to Rodney.
Good evening. My name's Rodney. My call sign is Kilo Zero Foxtrot Zulu, and I work with Patty and Franklin as a net control for whether it be the Skywarn regional net or the Greene County net. I'm just there to help in any way I can. But I'm also a little bit of a weather nerd, so we like to hang out and go from there. And I guess I'll turn it over to, is Kieran? Is it Kieran on here? Yeah, Kieran's
that'd
on
be
here
me.
too.
Well, hello everyone. My name's Kieran, probably known as the Bee now. um, yeah, I am law enforcement here in the UK. Um, I'm not into the amateur radio stuff, so I don't have a call sign like that. People just call me the Bee, and I'll pass it on to the next one.
I believe that would be Billy.
Hi, I'm Billy, and my call sign's N0SRO. I work with both Greene County Skywarn and Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn, both, kind of like Rodney. And it's good to meet you all.
And next up would be Dan.
Well, I don't have a call sign. I work in social media for Greene County and also with the regional and work directly under Patty. And I am up in Hickory County, about 60 miles north of Springfield, Missouri.
Fabulous. And next up, our producer.
That would be me, KA0SPM. The name is Steve, and I'm responsible for this show. Back to you.
So you we have to blame then.
Always.
Yes.
I'm the one.
If you have any complaints, his call sign at Gmail, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
I
on
shall
the
have to remember
graphics
that
too. So.
Send your emails to.
So,
That
so
reminds
with that, we do take any questions. We are live in chat. Franklin's manning that for us right now. So if you do have any questions as we go along, please feel free. Any comments as well. I think I'll kick it off with, if you'll share my screen, Steve. I'm going to go to my local weather. Take it a second to catch up. I shared my screen. I hope it's switching.
I don't see it moving.
I didn't
I
see
see it on the live stream.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
well, it's on the live
NWS?
stream, but it's not moving. The time is not changing. So let me.
Okay, it should be the NWS. Um, well, we'll swing it. I'll talk while I try to fix things here. So locally, we are in kind of an unusual winter weather pattern. Actually, late fall. Um, we I hope that's the right one. That's the right one. And did that change it, Steve? It did not give me a link again.
Um, I'm locked up here because it's not sending anything.
Uh-oh. Time for the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Oh, where's our audio for the technical difficulties here?
That would be
Come on, Rodney, you
this
need to
one.
be on the ball.
Here we go.
Oh boy.
We're in for it now.
All right. So locally, as I said, unusual for our fall weather. Beautiful 48 degrees outside, partly cloudy. It is unusual in that we are having some fabulous warm days here in the Ozarks, and that looks to continue. I've been seeing, down into the 50s a couple of times, but mostly through next week, upper 50s into the 60s, which is wonderful. The sad thing is very few chances for rain and that we're still in desperate need of. We do have chances coming in Friday night and going in through Saturday. That being said, Saturday could get interesting. It looks like we have quite a large chance of precipitation. We also may have some thunderstorms during the day on Saturday, so it's something to be mindful of if you have outdoor plans. It could be a washout or a blowout. And we'll talk a little bit more about what's driving our weather pattern here in a bit. Nationally, we've had Tropical Storm Eta that has been absolutely wreaking havoc on the East Coast today. It hit Florida a second time, and trajectory took it across from the western boundaries across into Jacksonville and then up the coast, where this is outside of Charlotte. And that's where it's sitting at present time. It met up with a boundary and is dropping copious amounts of rain, as well as quite a bit of wind with that. I'm seeing a wind report out of Charleston, 43 miles an hour. Still pretty significant for a tropical storm. It's projected to just move on out into the Atlantic from there, but the moisture from this may go on up the coast quite a ways. So that's a bit of a mess. Our next system that's coming in Friday night right now is coming into Portland, Oregon, and looking forward to a little bit of drought relief off of that. Not a whole lot. Steve, what have you got for us from the UK?
Well, actually, I was going to go ahead and kind of go further with the tropical storm situation in the Atlantic. We've got 3 items of interest. However, the Hurricane Watch Net is currently not active. So they are on a high alert, but they aren't active. So I'm assuring you that Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina, all of their Aries nets are quite likely active, and they're keeping an eye on reports and providing assistance to the National Hurricane Center in Miami. This is the National Hurricane Center's graphic. The disturbance number 1, 80% chance of cyclone formation. That's predicted to move towards Central America. Technically, there is no Central America, but that's going to move to the west. And then there's Tropical Storm Theta, which, you know what? I think they're going to run out of the Greek alphabet before this thing's over.
Now, isn't Theta the one that's kind of out in the middle of the Atlantic right now?
Right.
Yes.
Right. And it does not show that it's going to be moving towards us anytime soon. So it is of minor concern. Now, being in the one of the traffic areas for ships at sea, the hurricane or the maritime mobile net will be quite active, as well as other nets that exist on the other side in northern Africa and France and Spain. They do quite a bit over there that protects shipping. That's out in the middle like that. So I
Yeah,
say that's a lonely place to be if you're in a storm in a ship.
Well, kind of a little bit related, but on a different note, I was recently watching a National Geographic series where they kind of like take high resolution scans of the bottom of the floor, and graphically with computers they can kind of like drain away the water and see different shipwrecks and features and stuff. And I was watching one that was focusing on the Mediterranean and kind of possible locations for the inspiration for Atlantis, and they were talking about the Straits of Gibraltar, which is kind of there at the, I can't remember if it's the southwest corner of Spain or maybe Portugal, and then kind of that northwest corner of Africa that leads into the Mediterranean. I believe they said that was the second most active shipping lane in the entire world. So I can see where these countries would be concerned with that coming up kind of that way and maybe getting close to that.
And now we're showing Gibraltar right now on Windy. And by the way, all the links to the pages I've just shown are in the show notes. So if you want to go back and utilize some of the tools that I'm using, we're going to have a look at the radar here and see if anything shows. Don't see anything in that portion. Now, some of that storm is appearing off of the, let's see, the Canary Islands.
Mhm.
You can see that in the weather radar.
Right down there.
Yeah. So these are quite interesting little rocks in the Atlantic. Some of them bigger than others. We have talked to the Canary Islands via amateur radio in the past, so that's kind of interesting.
My first HF contact.
Yeah.
Nice.
Raul. I remember that. And getting up into the United Kingdom, it appears, Kieran, that you're going to get wet.
Oh yeah. Well, it's already here.
Already wet.
Yeah, the back garden has turned back into a swimming pool.
All right.
Nice.
You might make that a permanent improvement before it's over.
But
It
if
already
it's, if
feels
it's
like it.
if it's anything like over here, though, if he makes it a permanent swimming pool, he's got to put a fence around it. If he just lets the rain naturally fill it in, he might not have to put a fence around it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure they'll figure out a way to tax it. Anyway, let's put this in motion to do some predictive, or at least see what's going on. And if you think that's a lot of rain now, apparently it's going to be a lot more. So one of those systems that was in the Atlantic last week is now giving itself its blessings on you.
Right.
The Met Office in the United Kingdom is not indicating that there are warnings on these rains that we saw on radar.
So probably subsevere.
Right. So,
Don't worry, they'll put them out 20 minutes before it becomes deadly.
right,
Okay.
right, yeah. And so, looks like you've got pretty nice temperatures, and I think I'm going to revert back to Windy, which is a lot better at showing those things. Let's say that, what is the strait between the UK and, Britain and Ireland? What is that called?
You got Isle of Wight, I think.
Well,
I can't think of what that
the
one
Isle
is.
of Man is out there, but they've got some pretty severe winds approaching 50 miles per hour. And it looks like it's on balmy 52 in London. That's not bad, Kieran.
It doesn't feel like it.
Doesn't? Well, you're warmer than we are, so
Yeah.
it's got to be
I think
those
it's
winds.
46 here.
I was going to say, because I was outside about half an hour ago, and I had to have 2 coats on. Under that, I had a leather jacket.
Yeah. So, hey, there you
I
are.
am looking at the Google map of that area right now. I've got it kind of on a small thing, but it is actually not saying what that is called. Okay, actually, I just now it popped up. I guess it's just the Irish Sea.
Irish Sea. Okay, I can live
And
with
the
that.
Isle of Man is kind of, looks like about halfway between Northern Ireland and Scotland.
Yep.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
wait, I take that back. Is that before Scotland starts? It's in there somewhere.
It's in the middle somewhere.
Right. I was gonna say it starts at York, but that may be a movie thing. I don't know.
You know what? Straight to the east is the Yorkshire Dales National Forest, so it's probably in there somewhere.
So, anyway, I think that pretty much covers the wet conditions in the United Kingdom. Kieran, I feel for you. I wish we had a little bit of it here.
And I wish if you could send some of your nice weather over here. I wonder if we can work out a trade.
Once they get this election sorted out, then we'll talk about it.
Now,
That's
before we
never going to
move on-
happen.
Before we move on real quick, I kind of do have a question that I think would be more geared towards Patty. Kevin in the chat room was asking, kind of why did Edna kind of go all crazy with its storm track? He said it seemed like Edna was just kind of all over the map.
ETA was, and it's ETA, ETA.
Edda, okay.
Part of the Greek alphabet. The systems are just kind of wacky right now, and it did seem like it just meandered everywhere. And this new one, soon to be named Iota, probably will do the same thing. We have quite a number of little boundaries, little frontal systems moving through, and the steering winds, as well as the currents in the Gulf and the Caribbean area. It's going to steer it all over. Right now, it's beaded, I believe, on Guatemala. Might be Nicaragua, but I think it's Guatemala. And given current conditions, it possibly will do the same thing. It's a little too far out right now to even make that kind of prediction.
Mhm.
But just a combination of, and if Steve can pull us down into that area, you can see the systems that are at play down there, and the winds almost look like they're moving opposite of what we would normally see here. But they're also spinning, and that interacts with those storms as they move through. And then you have steering currents that often can be opposite of that.
The
I'm not a
steering.
meteorologist, but it all comes into play with those storms.
So maybe kind of a little bit of an application of the butterfly effect. These little small systems and boundaries have little subtle effects on the storm that maybe nudges it this way and then that way, and eventually it ends up over here.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
can. This layer that I've got right now is 24,000 feet, and you can see what kind of currents, and there, we're getting into the jet stream. That's the white part up here in the United States.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that pushes things around. The other option is when we have highs and low pressure area in over the continental areas, South America and North America both will push or pull. And one of the things, I think the complaint we've all had here in the Ozarks is none of these hurricanes have come over us. They have all pushed to the east, and the East Coast has gotten plenty of rain where we have not gotten very much. And so that the explanation to that is we've had overriding high pressures in the plains that have pushed those storms away from the central part of the U.S.
We are also under La Nina, the effects of La Nina, and I'm going to go into that a little bit in my presentation tonight. and how that affects the weather. It's quite different from El Nino. What I want you to think about while Steve plays my presentation, um, any questions you have, because I did kind of breeze through it because of time, but thanks, Kevin. I saw that comment. Um,
I think I know
uh,
which one you mean.
yeah. Um, it has huge effects on what the jet stream does and what our systems do. I want you to think, when was the last time you were aware of an unusual time of the year, or any time of any year that you can remember we had an unusual outbreak of severe weather? And we'll talk about that a little bit when we get done with the presentation. Um, there is a direct correlation to these systems out in the Pacific and how our weather here across the continental United States interacts. So if we're ready,
I'm all ready. How long is this video?
I didn't time it, sorry. It's probably about 20. That's about what I usually do.
All right. So
Maybe not quite that long.
the mics on Skype will be live, so make sure that if you're doing something in the background while you're watching, mute your Skype mic, and that way.
Good. Go ahead and do that now.
All righty. Well, here we go.
Good evening and welcome. I hope tonight to educate those of us who are spotters and those who would like to be spotters on what our role is in the wintertime, what hazards to expect, and how to get those reported to the National Weather Service. So let's begin. What weather can be expected? Well, it's the Ozarks, folks. It can be anything, honestly. It is the Ozarks, and it will change. And tonight we're going to talk about what La Nina will have to do with our weather this winter, and what can we do to prepare, or at least be ready to report. Our typical winter hazards are extreme cold, blowing snow, ice storms, heavy snow, freezing rain, snow meltage, ice jams we don't deal with much here, but it can affect our local rivers and streams. What do we really get here? Rain, snow, ice, thunderstorms, tornadoes, cold, warm, windy, sometimes all in one day. And when you have warm weather and the systems moving in, that can trigger severe storms, which of course can lead to tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. We have had severe thunderstorms followed by snow, just the nature of the winter weather. What does La Nina have to do with it? The outlook this year is showing above average temperatures here in the Ozarks being likely, and below average temperatures likely in parts of the north. Typical La Nina pattern. Um, this is the 2021 outlook map showing the above average temperatures for most, if not all, of the southern continental United States. Where we are here in the Ozarks, we're going to expect equal chances of below, above, and average precipitation. Warmer temperatures averaged to, anyone's guess. We hopefully will see some snow out of it, but anybody's guess how much. How will this affect our current drought? Right now, it's not looking favorable for any recovery from the drought through our winter months. It looks that we will continue or worsen our drought here in southwest Missouri through the winter months. So What does winter weather mean for spotters? We never stop spotting. Honestly, if we want to participate, there's chances to report year round. We can report vital information to the National Weather Service anytime. And right now, with things being the way they are, with uh, caution being out in the public, etc., the Weather Service is a bit limited in what they can do as far as surveys, and that's where we come in. Uh, we can provide them with information on winter weather hazards, current temperature, severe weather, uh, tornadoes, straight line winds, any kind of thunderstorm damage, snow depth, ice depth, flooding, and of course, how much precipitation we've had. Um, so, you've been spotting for a while, or you're new to Skywarn. What do you need to know? Well, things are changing in this world, and I thought it was a good time to update on when do you report, how do you report, and what do you report. Because that too is changing with our technological world. Amateur radio is still a vital part of this, power outages, etc. You don't always have a, uh, a reliable way to report without power, except amateur radio. Most of us who have radios have backup power, and it makes us even more important during severe weather, any time of the year. So let's start with when. This is a little complicated, but not. Um, when you see any damage that appears recent, and what I mean by that is that um, we've had storms roll through overnight, which is very typical Ozark weather, and you get up in the morning and you drive into work and you see power poles snapped, you see trees down, maybe roof damage, that kind of thing. Even though it's been after the event, that too is important. Uh, so anytime you see that and it's recent damage, that needs to be reported or should be reported. During and after snow or ice events, anything that you see that can affect our safety, traffic issues, ponding on the roads, flooding, um, power outages, icing of roads, icing of bridges, that kind of thing, uh, can be reported. Even when it's a late report, yes. Um, if, certainly your safety comes first. Uh, your livelihood comes first. So even if you give these reports late, they are important and they will go into the record so the Weather Service can track this. I'll get a little more in depth in that. How? We have amateur radio, of course, our regional frequency being 145.490. Uh, Counties have their own repeaters. Some counties combine their efforts. I know that in the Joplin area they cover quite a distance, and several counties report in on that net. Um, you can do this through email. The National Weather Service believe that pictures speak 1,000 words, and they do, and those can be sent with your location, your name, and I'll get into more in depth of what exactly they're going to want in that report. They'll have questions if you don't answer it. That's okay. But contact.sgf@noaa.gov is their email address. They are on social media. They have a Facebook page. I personally have messaged them with photos of damage and location of that. Um, when I've been out mobile spotting, they are on Twitter and they monitor both of those during events, um, and after. They're on there every day. They also have a cell phone you can use, 863-7884, and that's area code 417. Or you can text to me, text only to 417-413-4013. Why text only? Because I do not answer numbers I don't know. This is an alternate number for me that comes from my phone, and I can take your report and get that turned in. So, what to report? We need your name, your call sign if you have one, your exact location. Pull up Google Maps if you don't know exactly. It'll give you exactly where you're at. What do you see? I see trees down. I see shingles off of roofs. I see icing uh, on the lines. I see icing on my car, but it's not on the ground. That's important to know. Where do you see it? Well, I'm at this exact location. Um, and is this estimate or measured? In other words, I see icing on the lines overhead. Well, obviously you're not going to crawl up there and measure it. Uh, so you're not going to have a measurement, but you're going to be able to report, I see it starting to ice on the lines, which can be important. We have an accident uh, on I-44 at mile marker 82.2, and it snarled up traffic. It appears that the roads are starting to get slick. Those kinds of reports are very important to get. What is a snowboard? Well, here's how we report our winter weather. Okay, a snowboard is a way to measure snow and get exactly how much you're getting at your location. A flat board placed where you can locate it, um, or even a flat surface like a concrete driveway that you know is flat. I have even used a banister on the walkway at work that I knew was a flat area. So some people at their homes will put up a board, much like in the picture here, with poles so that they can locate it. Take several measurements on this board with a yardstick or ruler, and and average those out. Snow doesn't fall exactly the same everywhere. Important to note. Put this where it doesn't drift. Um, Under a house, under the eaves is not a good place. Um, any place where the wind might tunnel is not a good place. Out in the open where the snow doesn't necessarily drift is ideal. Important, if you're taking measurements through an event, you go out, say, every 2 to 4 hours and you measure, clear the board in between and get a fresh measurement. And this just demonstrates him clearing the board. Lucky him, it's not a wet snow. How do we measure ice? We do this with a ruler. And in this case, he's showing a great example of where you have 3/16 on one side, 7/16 on the other. The ice secretion is 5/16 of an inch. It goes on to say that they convert that. We don't have to worry so much about the conversion, but get to them a picture of what you're seeing and um, the measurement. Now, of course, on amateur radio, we're not going to get the picture. We may ask you to go ahead and send one, but if you can just get us the report, we'll get it to them. So, spotting is much more than tornadoes, isn't it? It's any kind of damage that assessment you can do. I wanted to focus on this tonight because with our current social changes, the Weather Service really needs our help here. they are not allowed to get out in the public as they were before to do damage assessments. We have a spotter, and I hope he joins us tonight. Dan Wisdom took these photos and screenshots of damage that occurred a little over a month ago on his property and down the road from him. Um, so this is how he did the assessment. He pinpointed himself on the map. He got an aerial view. Aerial view is not necessary, but helpful. And he actually caught a screenshot of the storm as it was getting to him. Then, this was actually several days later, got out in his fields and found the damage. Quite a number of trees down. There were power poles affected. He took great photos of this, great detail in his reporting, and sent this in to the Weather Service. Now, one thing you can't tell from the photos, what direction are those trees laying? You can't always get a good idea from a photo. So make sure to make note to yourself somehow in your phone or some way that you will know when you're turning the report in. Those trees are laid to the east, they're laid to the west, they're laid in all directions. Wide angle on your phone, in other words, let's turn it this way, not very skinny, is very helpful in getting a bearing on especially widespread damage and how that's patterned out, so that the Weather Service can get an idea of that. We are becoming more and more their eyes right now, and I don't know that this has gotten put out to us yet. So I thought I'd take it on myself here to really encourage folks, if you can, even just your home, your neighbors, immediate neighborhood, if you could help us and get that information, that would be so appreciated. And if you're having trouble getting the information sent in, contact me. I'll be glad to do that for you. I also have an email address for all these reports that I can forward on. It's swmoskywarn@gmail.com. Be glad to even answer your questions there. And since I'm recording this, I'll leave any questions to the live portion of this. And thank you for joining me tonight, and God bless.
And we're
And that
back.
was a very good presentation. I like that a lot, Patty.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I found it very informative, particularly being I've been a bad Skywarn spotter, and I have succeeded in missing every single one of the live streams that they've had in the last month.
So before I ask my questions on the presentation, Dan, what would you add to what you provided to the Weather Service? What went into that? I'd like to hear your side of this.
Well, the main thing is to come up with a map. And I used a map that showed property owners in my county. And there is a map that I shared with you, Patty, for Greene County. And you can actually zoom in on your location. I tried to show in my map where the damage was and how it started. And basically, it was a microburst. And I was lucky. I am with National Weather Service chat due to my position with Skywarn and what I do on social media for Skywarn. And I immediately reported that I had lost the roof on my rear deck of my home. And by doing that immediately, the National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm warning for my location. Then I did the follow-up. And the more that I found within the week or so, 10 days later, I went back and tried to recreate the information to make it easier for the National Weather Service to understand where, why, and how.
Very good. I know you put a lot of work into that.
Well, it actually didn't take very long. I did most of it with my cell phone and my tablet, and I was kind of flying blind, but I think that I hit on something that would work with any spotter in any location.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I think so.
I think you're right. And, I don't think people realize that even late reports are important.
Mhm.
We're not always where the damage is and may not see it for a day or two or a week.
Well, and
And
even the weather service, a lot of times it's a day or two before they can even get out when they can go out and do assessments.
Right. But I want to personally challenge everybody to go ahead and save a screenshot of their location on their phone, their tablet, their computer. That way it will make it easier for you instead of trying to dig, where am I going to come up with a map? How am I going to do it? And if you already have a screenshot saved, then doing the report, just adding a few pictures is very simple.
and something to add to your report, you are kind of on the far reaches of the radar. Um, you're there's still a county north of you, but the further out from the radar, the more of an angle that the uh, radar is tilted, and the evidently the microburst was below that. Um,
Yeah.
that they didn't have the indicators. They're very good at catching those. Um, and they happen quickly too. Sometimes,
Very quick.
within a scan or two. And so, yes, what you reported was absolutely important. You didn't even know you had a tree down right there at the house either at that point. So,
No,
yeah.
no, the only thing, I was sitting here in the recliner thinking, okay, this is not going to amount to anything. I had checked radar and I was about to take a nap and fall asleep in my recliner. And all of a sudden, the wife says, we just lost the roof on our deck. And I looked out on the back patio and it was gone.
That would
I
not
was
make me
very
very
fortunate.
happy, Dan.
Well, I was very fortunate to still have a home.
Yeah.
Fortunate
Because-
that it was just the roof of the deck.
Right, because some of the trees, it snapped cedar trees that were 30 and 40 foot tall off at the top of the ground. Totally off at the top of the ground. Broke them, snapped them. And I realized once I saw that damage that it was a little bit more than just a little bit of wind.
Yeah, because 30, 40 feet tall, those had to have been significant bases at the bottom of those trunks to snap that off.
Right.
In the
And
presentation, the one picture he had that was skinny, even though I kind of negated the skinny photos, what was important about that picture was he was showing the base snapped, and it
the height.
wasn't twisted. It wasn't twisted. It wasn't pulled up out of the ground by the roots. It was actually snapped at the ground.
Just
You could tell that in the photo.
Clean level.
It's
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say it's kind of interesting that every bit of the damage that occurred, there is engineering data that says how much force it takes to break a tree of that size. Whether it's a healthy tree or it's a rotten tree, they do take that into account. They can figure out how much force was caused by the wind, therefore they'll know how fast the wind had to have blown to make that happen. And that's why the data is so important. What we don't always see behind the scenes at the Weather Service is that there's mathematicians that do a lot of figuring that come up with these things. Interesting part about his report was they gained a lot of information about how fast the wind was actually going, while they could look at their Doppler radar and see how it reported that, which gains knowledge in maybe faster warnings, or they can see a spin up of a tornado a little bit quicker. So every one of those things, when we say they're important, it's not just because somebody wants it. It's because they can use that data to create a more accurate picture of weather forecasting, and they've been doing this kind of thing since the 70s. Imagine what 20 more years will give them in doing these things. You know, there's just a whole lot that's going to appear that we just can't imagine, and it's kind of that's the side of it that I find very interesting, is that all the stuff they can calculate just from a picture, just from your descriptions and where it was. It's very cool.
It is very cool.
And,
And go ahead, Dan.
and the main thing that, you know, I am a farmer. And so when I say a quarter of a mile, I know what a quarter of a mile is. And so, but if I say a quarter of a mile and then mark it on a map, they can actually know that what I'm saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and kind of going back to what Patty was saying, kind of me kind of having a little bit of a background going back as a kid as an amateur photographer. I typically, whenever I do use my phone, I typically am using it like this. That would be considered horizontal, or landscape mode, kind of like that would be considered vertical or portrait mode. But if you're not for certain which you should be using, most of the time I do this. But if it's just a couple extra pictures, go ahead and do this and this. That way they kind of have a couple different angles, not like every picture, but if something's kind of a bit taller and you're like, well, maybe they might benefit from seeing that, go ahead and quickly snap one like this too.
Very good point. So I'm going to go back in history a little bit on a couple of things. One, Steve brought up a good point on how things are changing. When I got into spotting, there was a huge argument going on between the spotter community and the National Weather Service, and it would get heated at times about funnels or tornadoes, brief spin-ups on squall lines that were coming through. National Weather Service said it can't happen and maintained that line for a long time. Well, proofs started coming in as we gained our technology, and they were able to see what we were seeing. Hold this up where you can see my phone. They were able to see what we were seeing, and they started investigating. Our National Weather Service does a lot of research. These people out there are amazing in what they have their hands into. Flooding research, they were leading edge on um, uh, discovering these embedded supercells in these squall lines that were producing brief spin-up tornadoes. And they're wholeheartedly on board with that. NexRad level 2 data has absolutely changed the whole scheme of things and what they can see when reading a radar. So that part is amazing and will continually change. My question when we started, can you think of a La Nina out of typical weather season severe storm event that we have had here in the Ozarks?
'07 ice storm.
I can think of one that's been in the last few years. I just don't recall whether it was La Nina related or not.
Okay, Joplin tornado was one,
Okay.
but that's in our typical storm season.
Mhm.
We had 2018, I believe it was in October, or was it last year? No, 2018. We had a small outbreak of tornadoes that hit here in the Ozarks. The one that really comes to mind, though, is January 7 and 8 of 2008. We had an outbreak that didn't just affect southwest Missouri, but we bore the brunt of it. 72 tornadoes were reported out of this. And we had 33 here in the Ozarks, 33 confirmed tornadoes. It was one ride. Wow. That was directly affected by La Nina driving our weather pattern.
Mhm.
And if I recall, it was shirt sleeve weather during the day on the 7th before the storm started. And then they just rolled through one right after the other. It was like they were spawning behind each other. Crazy weather. So, and then didn't it snow on the 9th?
Wow. Tornadoes and snow.
So, yeah. Well, it's winter. And you get what drives our severe weather? Well, you get a cold front coming through, right?
Mhm.
So I can't say for sure on the snow because I think I slept most of the day on the 8th because I was up all night with the weather service,
Mhm.
at the weather service. And that was before we had chat. Our chat was purely on the radio, and
Gotcha.
there were two of us taking reports that night. So that, as well as Jim on the 4-9. So we were monitoring radios and asking questions directly from the meteorologists to the amateur radio community and writing these down and passing them on to a meteorologist who was adding all this data into a database. It was quite a coordinated effort.
Okay.
That's just one or two.
Yeah, I've got
So
a couple questions if I can.
sure.
Okay, one of them that I'm going to do first is actually from Kevin in the chat room. He was asking about the Good Friday tornado that hit St. Louis. Was that possibly during La Nina?
I don't remember that event.
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't it like an airport?
Oh, was that the one that
What's
hit?
that?
Lambert Field?
What year was that, Kevin? Do you
Let
remember?
me ask him.
It was the airport.
Yeah, it hit
was-
Lambert.
2011.
Okay, so I
Okay.
guess Steve's got it.
So yes, 2011. We were La Nina driven. So the answer to that would be yes.
So
that
this
was-
was a part of the tornado outbreak sequence of April 19th through 24th, 2011.
Yeah.
Now, the other one that I had was the one I was thinking about, but I don't know if it was La Nina driven or not. I'm wanting to think, and I can't remember the exact year. I'm wanting to think it was like between 2015 to maybe 2017, the year we had all the flash flooding the week after Christmas in late December. Was that La Nina driven?
La Nina. Ooh. Let me find that.
Gotcha. And while you're doing that, I'm going to have
I
to
think
put
it was
headset in.
2016, and it was December 26th.
Because I'm thinking I may have been working at Greyhound at the time, and I started there in January of 2016, so that sounds about right.
So interesting, that tornado outbreak had one EF3 in Girard, Illinois. They were 60 EF0s, 55 EF1s, 15 EF2s, 1 EF3, and 1 EF4, and I haven't found where the F4 was at. That was just in the latter part of April time frame.
Mm-hmm.
There it is, St. Louis City.
That was 2015. It was the 26th through the 28th of 2015. I'm not seeing La Nina referenced here.
Okay. I knew it was kind of a little bit unseasonably warm, and we had a lot of rain, but like I said, I did not realize whether that was La Nina related or not.
I don't know. It may have been El Nino, and I didn't get into that part of it. That sets us up for a whole different scenario.
Gotcha.
As I said, La Nina typically is drier.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking probably not, but maybe.
So that may have possibly been El Nino then.
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. We do have years that are kind of nil. We don't have either one driving the weather. But they are going back and doing a lot of research on what direct impacts those systems have on us, and there are patterns to that. Yes, has there ever been a tornado touchdown with snow on the ground? I'm seeing Kevin's question.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more likely touching down before the snow. Because if you think about what it takes to set up the severe weather, it typically warmer, although we have had a tornado in Springfield when it was 45, actually hit in town. It was 45 degrees outside, and it was a blowing, cold, drizzly rain. I know Steve would remember this. We had spotter training that night, and we were under a tornado watch. Had a reputation for every time Greene County had spotter training, we had some kind of severe weather, whether it be winter or tornado or thunderstorms. We had something. And they dropped the watch, and suddenly we're getting damage reports across town, and it was little spin up EFOs that were in this system. So probably not in the snow, but there is such a thing as a snownado, and they're rare. They are rare. They probably will not happen here. Uh, I haven't done a lot of research on them, but I think they're typically in the areas that have a drier climate in general. For example, Colorado. I actually saw a video of one. People were on a ski lift, and it was almost a clear day. They're kind of like dirt devils,
Oh, okay.
but they happen in the snow. Um, so probably probably not a tornado per se, but you can get those little cyclonic spin ups just because of atmospheric changes. And yes, they can toss the snow around. And, if they hit something directly, possibly cause some damage. So it would just be very brief.
Now, if one went through and demolished a nuclear power plant, would it be an atomic snownado?
Are you saying we have a screenplay to write?
I
Maybe.
think they made a movie
If we
already.
could figure out somehow to get like a little lake next to the power plant that has sharks in it, we could have an atomic shark snownado.
They have already made that movie.
Have they?
Yeah, my thing.
That's the thing. That sounds really good.
So. Thank you, Patty.
Yes, thanks.
We got educated, and it was fun too.
It was. Well, that's always my hope.
I mean, I guess an event that came to mind for me would the Moore, Oklahoma be driven by La Nina?
What year was that? 2013? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it was either 2013 or 2014 because it was a couple years after Joplin, which was 2011. So that's 2013 sounds about right.
Because that was one of
minute.
the weird phenomenon as to how that whole came about, because they were talking about not very often they would see a tornado strengthen and actually change its direction, moving into more of like a I think it was northeastern pattern.
It was the way it turned, I think, that was really unusual. And not only did it turn once, but I think it turned a couple times.
It's that north turn that was odd. It made a left turn.
So, Rodney, just so to be clear, there was a tornado in Moore, Oklahoma in 1999. There was one in 2003. There was one in 2013. And El Reno was going to go there, too.
I think it's easier to ask what year did a tornado
not hit Moore, Oklahoma.
Oh,
Okay.
Those poor people.
Oh boy.
So I have an article here in front of me. So the weather changed rapidly in May and La Nina ended. The big chill moved on and the severe storms returned to the plains. This tornado in western Oklahoma ended their tornado drought, and that was actually that's not El Reno.
Excuse me.
So, current conditions. Since we basically went to nothing, we went to a winter pattern this year.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we're in a warm, dry pattern right now that will continue through Thanksgiving. Um, I don't think people mind running around in shirt sleeves on Thanksgiving, but I find it odd that I've still got daylilies blooming and we've had 28 degrees at night. They have bloomed all year this year. It's crazy.
I don't mind it being warm on Thanksgiving, but I would like to see at least a half an inch of snow on the ground for Christmas.
See, the
Maybe just Christmas.
the thing that we kind of, if you've been at this game a while, you kind of understand. Sometime in late April, early May, the weather conditions as they warm to the north, as it gets summertime, generates a lot of severe weather, which it did this spring, a lot of rain. And
Yeah.
then as the cool weather falls back towards the equator again, we have a fall season. Usually not as dramatic. But after that fall season, we move into the winter pattern. And being an amateur radio operator, the winter patterns are awesome because you have almost no thunderstorms on the continent, and low band amateur radio is very quiet. We've already got there. I mean, I was looking at windy for the whole United States in storms, and there's only one stretch of storms. They're just off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina as a result of the hurricane. The only other real precipitation of note is the Pacific Northwest. That's it.
Yeah.
So very dry, like you said, but also not very disturbed. Not,
So I'm
even
going to borrow. Oh, go ahead.
well, even that storm front that moved through here didn't turn out to be that severe.
Right.
The other day.
So I'm going to read a quote from climate.gov. Research shows ENSO affects tornado and hailstorm frequency by influencing the position of the jet stream over North America. And ENSO is either El Nino or La Nina. El Nino weakens surface winds that carry warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico over Texas and neighboring states. La Nina, in contrast, concentrates hot, humid air over the region. The heat and humidity over the southern plains states sets up a strong north-south temperature gradient that in turn favors storm formation.
So if it's
So
going to
is this
happen here, it's more likely to affect us than anywhere in the U.S.
We are in that pattern, yeah. We would be in that pattern.
So we've kind of got the bullseye on us if anything develops.
Possibly. Everything that I've heard, everything I've I've sat through 4 different presentations by the Weather Service so far this fall, and it's kind of comme c'est comme ça. With
Nice
average.
application of French, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Never took a bit. We just have to be prepared. You guys wanted something on preparedness. Well, I wanted to prepare you with knowledge that we can expect anything. We can expect it to be warmer than normal. Predominantly, we're going to have our cold periods. We're still going to have our winter. But my bet in putting everything together that they have said and everything I found in my research is that we're going to see a mixed bag. And will we have tornado watch number 1 again? I don't know, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Oh.
That was interesting.
And we talked about that last week, and I was just wanting to make sure that was the one that hit Harry Cooper's supply at night, wasn't it?
Yep,
Or was that a different one?
that was.
That was it.
That
That
was
would be
it.
the one.
Yep.
So that not only spawned a great number of tornadoes, but just prior to Harry Cooper getting hit, We had a spotter out, and I'm going to call out Jeff Morrissey on this one. Um, he was out on James River Expressway, and he had an anemometer on his car that registered 97-mile-an-hour wind.
Ooh.
We were just about ready to take cover at the weather service. it was nasty night. Then we had another spotter who got spun by a brief spin up at Bennett and Kansas, and evidently that one was the one that kind of hopped, skipped, and jumped on over to Harry Cooper.
Gotcha.
Now I still say we had another brief spin up over by MSU. Not enough there though to really get damage in to confirm it. But when I went home at 5:30 in the morning, the flags that they have on their poles going down Grand Avenue were twisted around the poles. Okay.
Yeah.
No, indicator number one, at least a funnel cloud. But then they have that fence that runs along the side of the road, the parking area across from campus. And those pickets were picked up by panel, and they were thrown in all different directions for about a block going down Grand. So you tell me what I saw. I'm just saying there were some trees that had some damage in them, but it was about a block.
I know just from what I've learned, typically if everything's kind of going in the same direction, that's usually an indicator of straight line winds. If everything's just kind of going, kind of around, that's rotation. And then if everything's just kind of scattered everywhere, this goes there and that there and everything else, that is kind of more of like a tornado maybe.
It kind of seemed that way to me.
Yeah.
And I think that the tire store at Campbell and Grand got hit that night too. I do know that my coworkers, because it was so warm prior to that last push of air bringing those 90-some-mile-an-hour winds through, it was so warm, my coworkers had the window open, and I, of course, had to drive by work coming home. They said that right before the cold air hit, when the wind picked up, it threw everything off of the corkboards in the office. One window open, and they said it was just this whirl of paper in the office.
Wow. Now, see, I was over at my grandma's house because, of course, I'd been living with her for quite some time, and that was I always remember that storm because that was roughly about a week and a half before she passed away. And I know we were up. My aunt that was living with us were up. I think our power had actually went out, and I've got my Radio Shack shortwave radio that we're listening to KTTS on. And, I'm not for sure if there was maybe something maybe didn't touch down, but maybe it was kind of over this eastern side of Springfield, or maybe we were hearing the tornado that hit Harry Cooper Supply because we're not that far down Chestnut Expressway. But we heard something that sounded like a bunch of wind or something.
And it's possible, Stratford got hit last year or earlier this year. And we both jumped up out of our chairs. He was in one shack and I was in mine. And we both ran for the doors to look outside to see what was going on. And it was 2 miles from us. We could hear that thing. It was without a doubt the roar that we were hearing. It's like, I know that sound. I lived in Wichita for 4 years. I was there for the Andover tornado.
Once you hear it, you know it.
Once
it's
you hear it,
something you can't unhear it.
You absolutely can't mistake it for anything else. And probably more importantly, it didn't make the national news, but did more damage than the Andover tornado, was the Labor Day outbreak that we had there. And that started at 6 o'clock in the evening and didn't stop until 3 in the morning. It was one storm after another. It was so bad that there was a travel trailer agency across from West Town Mall, and their trailers were sitting in the mall parking lot, mind you, across the flyover on Kellogg. So that was the kind of night we had.
That's
And-
hoisted a ways in the air to go over flyover.
It may not have been flyover at that point. They were working on that, but
Uh-huh.
that was still 6 lanes of traffic and a break in between for the median
Wow.
to go from the parking lot all the way over to the other parking lot. And at my house, I could hear it coming and took cover in my basement. It's the only time in 4 years that I ever took cover in the basement. And we had limbs snapping from the treetops in my yard. I had huge elm trees on east and west sides of my home, bigger than I could reach around. And that was the first one that went through. But the roar, that thing came through, it's mowing treetops, and it kept dropping. Half a block from me, it started mowing roofs, literally mowing the roofs off of homes. It got to Kellogg. I was a block and a half from Kellogg. It got to Kellogg, made a right turn, a 90-degree turn, took out part of the gas station on one corner. It took out the roof on the Come and Go on the other corner, and the Dairy Queen across from it. It destroyed the Dairy Queen. And it went on down Kellogg to the south, or I'm sorry, to the east, and was just shattering glass in all these buildings. There were a whole bunch of car dealerships along there. Millions and millions and millions of dollars of damage from this thing. It never touched the ground from what we could tell. But it took part of the roof of East Town Mall off. That was just one of I don't know how many that hit Wichita that night. It was crazy night. So, yeah, you don't forget that sound.
What's always interested me about tornadoes is how a tornado can pretty much go in a straight line, damage all these buildings for quite a ways, skip one or two, and then in a perfect line with the previous line, just start damaging a whole bunch again. But those one or two in the middle, hardly touched. Now, I did have a question real quick that Kevin had asked in the chat, and it's kind of an interesting question. I have no idea even how to come close to answering it. Do you happen to know, Patty, what is the lowest wind chill that's ever been recorded in southern Missouri?
I do not know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some links I could go to do some research. I
Okay.
don't
Google
know.
Ninja.
Patty,
Yeah.
I'm kind of up on this. And,
Okay. Go for it.
all right.
Sure.
The coldest temperature ever recorded in Missouri was minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was set in Warsaw, Missouri, where I was born at, just up the road 23 miles, on February 13th of 1905.
Was that the wind
Interesting.
chill or was that the
That was
actual
the
temperature?
So that was the actual temperature.
The wind chill
Now
was
then,
colder.
now
you
then,
would think.
correct. Now then, yesterday was the anniversary of the largest, according to the University of Missouri, was the anniversary of the largest temperature drop in the state of Missouri.
What was that?
11
degrees.
11 of 11.
Right.
1911. Yeah.
Right.
50
Wasn't
degree
it
of
a
temperature
70?
fall over 3 hours.
How much was it over 3
50
hours?
degrees over 3 hours,
Yeah,
that's what I
65
thought.
to 70 over 18 to 24.
You know,
think
I've
experienced
personally,
that.
I've seen 10 to 15 degrees over the course of about 20 to 30 minutes. I think there was one time, or maybe a couple times during a pretty good thunderstorm, it dropped from, say, like 85, 90 to like about low 70s, upper 60s in 45 minutes to an hour, but 50 some degrees. That's a huge change.
I was living in Seymour at the time, and if we're talking about the same episode, it was 89 degrees that morning, and by mid-afternoon it had dropped to 37 or 38. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I think that's even more than 50, but
Freshman year of high school, Earth Day was in March. I believe it was March 26th, 1970. And we went to school in short sleeves, mini skirts, shorts, and sandals.
Uh-huh.
At 11:45 a.m., they evacuated, not just shut down, they evacuated the elementary schools to get kids home. The temperature dropped. It started snowing. I don't know how much it dropped, but it started snowing, and it didn't look to stop anytime soon. At 1-something, they let out the middle schools. And at 3:15, when we were due to get out at 3:25, they evacuated the high schools. Well, the buses weren't there yet. They were snarled in traffic on roads that were near impassable. Our bus finally got there at 4, and we were locked out of the building. Insanity. Absolute insanity. Freezing. The bus gets there. He tried 4 different routes to get us home. Couldn't get through. We got out at intersections, and we were pushing cars to try to make room for the bus to get through. Couldn't get through. There was no light at Ingram Mill and Sunshine, which crossed then.
Yeah.
And that was one of the ways that we had to go. And so I don't remember. I honestly don't remember what time we finally just abandoned the bus and started walking. And about 3 miles in snow that was about knee deep. I got home about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Parents were panicking because they didn't have systems like they have now, where they account for every child every moment until they, from the time they get to school till the time they get home. They had nothing like that. Our parents had no idea where we were, nor any way to come get us. They wouldn't have known. So,
So
that was the craziest.
let
one
me
I
add
remember.
in a couple of more, because Dan, you got me on that claimantmissouri.edu.
That's a great site, isn't it?
So this would be a field day canceling event. The warmest temperature in Missouri was 118 degrees on July 4th of 1954, or July 14th. And if it stayed like that till field day, it'd be like, no, you ain't got an air conditioner big enough. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Minus 40 in Warsaw in the 13th February of 05. Driest
That's
year.
2005 or 1905?
1905.
1905.
1905.
The driest year in 1953, we only got 25 inches of rain, 25 and a half, usually a 45. Wettest year we had was 93, 56.9 inches of rain. I can remember not being able to get across the Mississippi River anywhere. The bridge at Quincy was out because they got rain up north too. I don't think that the big bridge in St. Louis was closed, but pretty much all the other ones. Cairo was down and out. Warmest summer was 1934, average temperature 81.9. And the coldest winter, 78, 79, 24.1 degrees average. What was that? Was the average high?
Yeah, so there were temperatures that were way cooler than that.
Oh, and this one will take out your DirecTV. World record rainfall intensity, 12 inches of rain in 42 minutes in Holt, Missouri.
Yeah, you ain't watching the cable networks.
No, it's going to take your DirecTV out. It's probably going to take C-band out too, but 12, it's like pouring it out of a bucket.
Consider a toad strangler.
God. More than one toad.
I
Dang.
think that would be strangling the toad strangler.
I need a glug 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 sound effect for that one. 12 inches. Oh my God. And we thought it was bad coming through Columbia on the day of that big storm in Iowa. Holy crap.
Hey, I thought it was
bad here.
I thought it was bad that one day here, 3 or 4 years ago, it may have been around the same time that we had the flooding in December, whenever it started raining really heavy, and I'm going to D&D. That's Dungeons and Dragons for those who's not in the know. And I get down to the end of the road, and both the drainage ditches are like within half an inch of going over the road. So I get through there. I'm coming down the south side of the Glenstone Viaduct at St. Louis Street, and the whole intersection is probably under 3 or 4 inches of water. So I have to turn around and go back. And then later on, I won't say who, but a couple of us may know, someone was watching the radar out at the National Weather Service and kind of forgot to put out an urban stream advisory until someone came by and said, "Hey, should you put out an urban stream warning?"
Is that the one where there was like 6 inches of rain in?
It was something like
Springfield?
that. Oh yeah, it was
They-
like
yeah.
every little
I
low
was- I
area
remember
of
that
Springfield was like under at least that much water.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen St. Louis and Glenstone flood like that ever. I've seen it flood like that downtown, just west of the square, but I've never seen St. Louis and Glenstone do that.
Well, guys, we are waiting on Patty to get back. There she is. Check your messages, Patty. Ruh-roh.
Someone's
It's
in
never good when you start telling people to check their
trouble.
messages.
Yeah.
On my phone or on
On your
Facebook?
phone. On Facebook.
Probably.
So, one of the things that we normally do, and we normally don't have this many guest stars, is what we call the rant. And the rant goes like this: you can rant about anything except politics and religion. So I'm going to leave it up to the guests of our show tonight, whether or not they would like to participate in the 5-minute rant.
Which normally goes longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, you know.
But I don't really have anything to rant about tonight.
Yeah, I don't know that I do either.
So, you know, in the interest of, we've had a great show so far, and we've
Right.
kind of come to the bottom of the list of stuff that we had to talk about, and you know, so we can let our guests continue with their evening. We might forego the rant, which means that we
Well,
get to double the rant next time.
Well, I'm going
That's
to
good.
Double the rant.
say one thing.
Wait a minute.
Everybody,
Wait a minute, Dan. If you're gonna rant, we got to do this.
You gotta do the sound effect.
Okay, now you can do it.
Oh, hold on, I got mine.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
everybody is complaining about. Ah,
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
You
Uh,
sure?
yeah.
I could do it again. It's way too much fun.
Yeah.
Okay, here goes. I love that.
Trouble is, you love it too much.
My rant about the rant, man. Oh no. Now, go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. In the Ozarks, you know, everybody is complaining about the lack of rain. And all I am dealing with up here on the farm currently is mud everywhere. And it's to the point that we're getting tractors stuck. I've got semis coming in and out of the farm. We're having a logger in doing logging, and they are having all kinds of trouble dealing with the mud. And it's been hard. Just with the little bit of rain that we got Tuesday, it's been hard for me to even drive across the fields with a four-wheel drive pickup. And yet, 60 miles south of me in Springfield, you guys are dry.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that to go out there for the two of us to sit and watch the loggers work for a while, it might be difficult.
Right. Very difficult. I've learned some new
But it
words.
would be easy to dig. It would be easy to dig up our cedar trees, right? Because it's so muddy.
Oh, right. Yeah. It'd be very easy.
So you learned
No, I
some
mean
new
it-
words. Can you repeat them on the air?
No, I cannot. Especially when a logger is having to push a semi down a lane with a load of logs on. And he today had to unload some of those logs just to get him out of the field that he was in, and then drag them to him and reload them on the truck.
Oh boy.
It's been fun up here.
I'd like to watch that feller buncher work. That would be damn real cool. That stuff's awesome.
It has been an interesting experience. I watched him today move 60-foot trees. He was trying to get it where he could move the tree and then cut the top off and keep any limbs out of my hayfield. And he was cutting out along a fence line. And I'll tell you, it's for the amount of money that they have in the equipment and what they're doing. And I thought it was very interesting that the timber coming off our farm is going to be used for railroad ties, whiskey barrels, yeah,
Yep.
and wood flooring.
Nice.
So the companies that are going to buy from your company that's doing that work is Vermilion here in Springfield. They purchase cut wood.
Oh, nice.
Lebanon still makes barrels. I think
Yes.
the company is Independent Stave, but I might be wrong about that.
No,
Oh,
you're
right.
correct.
And BNSF does their own railroad ties, which that yard is in the old Springfield North Yard where their station used to be, which is at Washington and Commercial.
Correct.
If you ever
So
drive by
these
there,
are not-
there's just huge stacks of wood that
Oh, yeah.
they got.
So these are not just big national companies. These are local companies.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
And this is
I'm gonna-
just a little sawmill, family-owned sawmill that operates probably 10, 15 miles north of me.
Hmm.
Now, to clear up any kind of questions that someone might have about this, what they're doing with the logging, and I've seen most of the companies do this way, they are not clear cutting. Clear cutting is only done where they're growing wood for paper pulp. And those paper pulp fields are not forests. They're fields. They've been planted, they grow for 30 years, and they come in and they clear it all out and do it again. Your forest, they're just harvesting the mature trees.
Correct.
Which is really amazing for the forest there because it takes away a bunch of competition. And so there'll be new trees grow. And the wildlife is going to take a big boost because there's a lot more grass to have. So your rabbits and deer and all those things that eat that are going to improve, which improves my favorite part of nature is the raptors, which is eagles, hawks. They get more to eat. Everybody does well because of it. And you will, 40 years from now, you will not know that they ever did it.
Correct. The problem that we were running into, we had several trees that were dying due to either bugs or disease, and it was just going to be lost money.
Right.
And, we decided to have this company come in and harvest the trees and the mature trees, and they're leaving a lot of the younger trees, and it's going to give them room to grow, and they're going to get a lot more sunshine and more nutrients from the ground. And they're cutting the trees. They're not leaving any stumps. They're cutting them off level with the top of the ground. And it's kind of, interesting to watch them operate.
One thing that is a concern in the Midwest and probably large parts of the country is the emerald ash borer. It's an insect. It thrives in ash trees. But if you come into a ash forest and you cut them all, except the little ones, it will kill the bugs because they don't nest in non-mature trees. And one of my criticism of the overall system is that they have a way to stop these things. It's called harvesting. You go in and you cut them down. Around in North Carolina and Virginia, which is right on the area around Appalachian Trail there, they've got a bunch of pine trees, and I don't know what variety, but they also are being infested by bugs, and they're dying. Well, again, the way to stop it is you harvest them and they grow back, and when they grow back, they're healthy. So
Yeah, it's like any kind of other land management, whether it's the plants, the trees, or the wild animals. You get too much to one end of the scale, and it's not good. Whether it's lack of resources, lack of nutrients in the ground for the plants and the trees, lack of food for the animals, which leads to disease and other kinds of decay. So if you come along periodically, take like the oldest, harvest it, leave, certain amounts of different grades alone, then those will continue to grow. They'll get the resources that they need. Then, another 10, 15, 20 years, you do the whole process all over again. It's been known that, for a long time, and kind of goes back to a little bit of my presentation a couple weeks ago about the wildfires. A lot of people have complained that a lot of this dead underbrush, dead trees, limbs from trees and stuff that have not been cleared away is part of why sometimes some of these wildfires they just grow from a little bit of nothing to a huge fire in a short period of time. If they would go through periodically and clear that off, maybe burn some of it off in controlled burns, these huge wildfires, you might still have some, but they wouldn't be as likely, and they might not get quite as out of control as quickly.
And many of the trees out west, especially, that they need the fire to actually regenerate themselves. Some of the coniferous trees out in that area, it takes a fire to actually cause the seeds to germinate to produce new trees. And a lot of people don't realize that. And fires happen in nature, which is how our forests continue to develop and redevelop over the years. But this letting them just absolutely go wild and by law not allowing anyone to cut or go in and manage is just setting it up for disaster. So
Well, nature has its way.
I did want to comment real quick back on Kevin's question. I cannot find the answer to your question on the coldest measured wind chill. However, I'm going to give you an estimate. On 11/11 of 1911, when it went from 80 degrees and dropped so severely and Warsaw set that record low temperature, there were winds that were recorded at 78 miles per hour as the winds shifted direction and the front rolled through. And it switched to a northwesterly pattern. I'm just venturing a guess here because I can find nothing to substantiate it. But let's just guess that when the temperature hit 40 below, the wind was still roaring from the north at 20 miles per hour. If that were true, the wind chill at that time would have been minus 74.
Brr.
That's the best I can do.
Can we officially
instant freeze if you went outside?
Cold for me.
Can we officially call that the Missouri Siberia?
Oh, by the way, I did run across in my research, Warsaw also holds the record for the hottest temperature ever recorded in Missouri. And it was either 114 or 118.
118.
Actual temperature. Actual temperature.
That's the field day canceller right there. It's too hot.
No. That's we dig
we
a
were out
hole
there
out
for
in the middle
110.
field, and we put Franklin in it, cover it, and put a daisy on top.
So
we were out there for 110, honey. If we can do 110, we can do 118. Come on.
So the current high temperature on the planet is in Western Australia.
Okay.
And I'm not even going to try. Wangkatjunga at 109.
Wangkatjunga?
Is that Fahrenheit or Celsius?
That's Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And that would be about, what is it?
Steve's look.
40, 42 Celsius.
It's like you've taken a double take. What?
Well, I got a temperature thermometer in here. It's got both on a dial, so you can convert just by looking at it, and it's like,
oh,
I got it hid. I need to move it down here closer. So, if you like warm temperatures, Western Australia is the place to be.
They get pretty warm
down there. That doesn't sound like spring.
It sounds like Australia.
Sounds warm
What's
enough.
that, Billy?
That's what Australia is.
Warm enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on here once or twice, but I was looking at a travel guide for Australia here several years back, and I was quite shocked to find that most hotels and motels and even a lot of people in their own private residences have actually commercial grade air conditioning because it gets so hot and humid during their summer, which is our winter. You just have to have it, otherwise the AC conks out constantly.
So
Freeze up, I imagine.
Yeah.
there was a meme I saw that had this cute little critter that somebody was holding that was from Australia. And it's true that everything in Australia will kill you. Just with this little guy, he wants to kill you, but he just can't. He's just not big enough.
Any random animal you pick up in Australia, there's a 50-50 chance it's venomous, poisonous, or will otherwise somehow kill you.
Yeah.
Fun.
To know.
And in answer to the question in chat, I'm not giving away our gender-specific secrets.
Ah. She's taking that one to the grave, Kevin.
There he is, right there. He wants to kill you, but he just can't.
Strangling that thumb.
Yeah.
So I guess a city that is something that you can say is Fitzroy Crossing. And there's a guy I've watched on YouTube that they traverse this. This is like middle of nothing. There's nothing there. And they go out there in their Range Rovers and they drive it, and make YouTube shows about it. And they don't have professional style air conditioning at those ranches out there. It's nighttime.
Run around in circles.
Yeah,
out
just
in the
nighttime.
Great Salt Desert.
Yeah, there is. When I saw him do that, I was like, I would love to do that. But then I saw the temperatures, and I was like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's so weird. Like most deserts, you would not necessarily think this. Great, huge, high temperatures during the day. At night, it cools off to nothing, and you're probably almost freezing.
Can't make up its mind.
I would tell you what the coldest spot on the planet is right now, but there's nowhere reporting it.
Probably
It's
the UK.
Nowhere.
It's
Minus
because the
4.
radio waves.
-4 Fahrenheit up in like Northwest Territories.
Northwest. See, I was thinking Antarctica was going to be a candidate. I'm like, the radio waves aren't propagating from Antarctica very well.
Well, no, it's actually warmer down there.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one day, I think we were having our National Weather Service deal, and I was an operator that day, and it was rather cold in the Southwest Missouri, and I talked to Alaska, and it was warmer in Alaska than it was in Missouri.
Yep.
That was wild.
It happens.
So I'm finding the coldest place on Earth right now is the South Pole, where the temperatures are sitting at a cool -38.
Yeah.
Hey, that's short weather for Franklin.
That is, yeah.
Hey, I will even admit that's cool.
You might need to put a pair of
You might have
sweats
to put
on.
Might have to put on a pair of socks to go with your sandals.
I may have to put on my fleece sleep pants to go along with my T-shirt, and then I might be able.
Your parka.
Franklin.
Yeah.
Hey, at least I can just walk over to the corner of any room, carve off some beef for a steak for dinner, throw it in a pan, and put it on the cooktop.
Oh, by the way, Franklin, happy birthday.
Yeah,
thank
happy
you.
birthday.
Happy birthday!
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. I turned the big 4-1 today.
Welcome to the midlife crisis.
You're getting
I-
up there.
Is that gonna be
I-
your rant?
I've been eyeing Ferraris online today.
Red ones?
Yes,
Hot
if
Wheels.
I get pulled over, I might as well get the popular color for it.
Oh no, he's probably going to go for a neon green one or something.
I think I need to, go to the gym and lose, 100 pounds and put on 50 pounds of muscle so I can attract the younger crowd.
I don't even have a sound effect for that.
Yeah. I'm
You
trying
probably
to
don't
think of
want
what
one.
are other typical midlife crisis things. I'm probably going to start having like a little receding hairline here, so I've got to look at either hair plugs or a toupee. I just don't want to get one of those Shat toupees. No.
And get
A
rid of
what?
the gray.
What'd you say?
I don't want to get one of those Bill Shatner toupees. That just get...
Oh, okay. I thought you said something else.
No. You see, that's the danger of having a last name like Shat. People think you're saying things you're not. And some of those
Sure
things
sounded
might
like
be
you
a
said
little
what you said. We won't repeat what I thought you said,
No.
but anyway.
Won't repeat what you thought I said. Because I'm pretty for sure I know what you thought I said.
We are family
That's what I
friendly.
thought you said.
Yes.
We know him too well.
But in all realness, I'll just sit over in the corner of the balcony with my cup of chai or Earl Grey and sip it as I watch the sun go down in the... Well, actually, it's on the other side of the building, so I can't really watch it go down in the west. See, I've ruined my whole little visionary ending here.
Sound like a rant.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't really have anything to rant about. It's been a good day.
Well, it is
Our
your
office-
birthday, so I would hope it did go well.
It did.
Our office moved, and I still don't have a decent view to the west. And I moved much further west for work.
I was talking to Mom about that. I forgot to ask you where your new location was after we were off the air last week.
It's in the
I'll get with
hood.
you about that.
It's still in the hood. It's in a different hood.
The West
Um,
Hood.
But there's a hill just to the west of us, so I still don't get a good view. Oh, well.
Was that a rant?
I guess.
Any
My
rant.
office is in the center part of the building, so, and no windows, and from what I can tell, there's no pipes and things close, so like no gas lines. So we probably just crawl under our desks and hope for the best in severe weather. I don't know. But I got word today from work that they're talking real heavily about working us from home. So who knows? Who knows what tomorrow will bring?
So, are they
Uh-uh.
possibly taking the lead from Missouri Southern University and the University of Missouri?
I think this probably comes from more internal battles. So,
Gotcha.
and people just keep getting sick. And not COVID. We just have a number of things starting to get other flus and things. So, I don't know. I'm not privy to those meetings. I just heard that there was a meeting discussing us for working remotely, and they've got to have some software for that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Otherwise,
Oh, I would
the-
imagine.
otherwise we're
Oh, no.
using we're relegated to using cell phones that the calls are forwarded to, and that would be
That
a
would be a
logistic
nightmare.
nightmare. So,
Man.
Because I figure a lot of your software is probably proprietary, isn't it?
yeah, and they don't have software that our calls come in on. We're still on analog phones, so
Or,
yeah,
Yeah, it's pushed on IP phones.
they haven't done that. So, anyway,
Well-
I don't see it happening anytime quickly.
This
But
goes
I've been
into-
ready to work remotely since the last threat of an ice storm. They asked me to be, and they were going to hand me a cell phone. So
they go into this discussions, and here's the work from home discussion. Before that, they had employees that seemed to not ever be there to answer the phone. And it's like, if you guys had an IP phone, people would log in as an agent, like a real call center, and you would
Right.
know who was not doing their job. Well, this is
Right.
the argument against AI, is that you actually know what's going on and you don't get to be lied to.
As team lead, because of the way things are, when certain people are working, my word to the others is let it ring until they pick it up.
And that's bad
It's
that you
their
have to do
turn,
that.
and we'll take them in order that they come in. And when it's
It-
their turn, let it ring until they pick it up.
It's bad that you have to do that, but a lot of places they would not do that. They'd be like, well, if you don't pick it up, you're just as culpable as the other person who's not doing their job. So I kind of am glad to see you as a supervisor, as a lead. You're supporting your other people who are doing their job,
Exactly.
but you've got
I
the
wanted
one
to
that's
be fair.
not. Yeah.
Right. And unfortunate, one in particular makes more money than any of the rest of us by virtue of overtime when they work with us. They're PRN, and they're not going to sit there and take no calls.
Mhm.
Not when they're costing that much. They're going to earn their keep.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
don't push the
company thing.
budget, but I want it to be fair, and
Yeah.
I want everybody to pull their load. So now, that being said, we have two that I call crisis pigs, and I'd say it to their face. Uh, they grab the phone quicker than I don't know how they do it. I honestly don't know how they do it. I can sit there with my hand on the phone. I can't pick it up quicker.
Mhm.
So,
So some people are just what I would call a workaholic. My friend Paul, that was the school teacher from Bass Pro, workaholic. He constantly has to be doing something. That's like even whenever we play D&D, in between him playing, he's cleaning up people's plates, he's cleaning up the table, he's cleaning up the counter. When he came over to our house to play D&D, he started doing our dishes. He has to
send
be
it my
doing
way.
something.
Well,
Although
Would
the,
you like
although
to
the last
come over
couple
to mine now?
years, as he got closer to retiring from the school district, he slowed that down quite a bit. But he's still
I've got
kind
a
of in
steamer
doing
he
stuff.
can run on my living room carpet. I mean, come on.
I think it's called
Paul-
I'll
OCD,
Paul
Franklin.
probably would do it. He would probably do it.
Would you like to come and spend a day at mine?
I'd pay him for it.
Oh,
I
he
would. I'd pay him for it.
He would do it for free. I guarantee you, Pat.
I would feed him.
Well, he might take food.
Hey, I'm coming over to do your dishes if you're feeding.
I'm talking steam clean my carpet, okay?
Oh, well, if you bring some food, I'm coming to help.
So I understand you like my pulled pork. I would be glad to do that for you.
Oh,
Come on
yeah.
over.
I want to try some of the enchilada that Steve was talking about.
Oh, we've had
You
two
know-
versions of
That
it,
I'm going,
chicken
we've
and
got
beef.
to stop talking about food. I'm
Just
getting fat
between
just thinking about it.
just between the seven of us and the rest of the internet, I'm pretty for sure I could get Jordan to kill someone for me if I promised him a lifetime supply of macaroni salad. I think it could happen.
Call him macaroni salad murderer.
You know, whenever 20 years down the road, after we're both caught and in prison, Time Life's gonna, put out the booklet that's gonna be the pasta salad killers or pasta salad killing.
The pulverizers. Oh my goodness.
Of course, we'll have to print the recipe in the book.
Of
You
course.
can't do a
This
story
could
about
be a
killings
fundraiser for us.
on
This could be a
pasta
fundraiser
salad
for us.
if
The
you
we go.
Jungle
don't
Chasers
put the recipe.
cookbook.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will have the recipe for the macaroni salad in the show notes.
Yeah.
Make it yourself, and you'll know why it's to kill for.
Yeah.
My enchiladas, however, will wait for the cookbook.
I bet those are good though. They look good.
They were good.
I did a beef version and I doubled the hot. So,
That's I don't know if I could handle double hot. Maybe
Yeah,
single hot for me.
They are a little toasty, but if she did it with just single hot, they would be pretty dreamy. But I eat them with rice, so they're good.
Basmati rice.
See, Mom would have to have half a hot because it's like stuff that I don't even think is even spicy. Tears.
Well, I use chilies instead of jalapenos, so they're not gonna like smoke your nostrils or anything.
Mm. I tell you
Folks,
what, I've
I'm
been
thinking
straight-
we've gone 2 hours.
2 hours.
Probably should
I don't even look at the
say
clock.
our 73 round for the internet audience, and we can always continue as we usually do.
Afterwards.
Yeah, it's called Jungle Chasers After Dark.
After hours.
Oh
The
boy.
I think we should call it Jungle Chasers Uncut.
Uncut.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh.
Oh, and so it begins.
Wait a
So
minute.
I guess I'll
Patty.
kick off. What am I waiting for?
No, it's,
There you go.
Wow.
boy.
Yeah,
And we both have
that's
that.
that right there.
Rodney and I both have that one queued up. Number one.
yeah, that's our signature sound.
See, I'm just waiting for the time that you both hit the button and then Steve forgets he's hit the button and he actually says it himself. So we get a triple oh boy.
That's going to be a bad one, boy. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It will
Oh
happen.
boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I don't know if we would live.
See, I'm thinking that's like a Mount St. Helens / Vesuvius level, seismic internet event.
Hey, it's 2020. It ain't over yet.
True.
Oh, and tomorrow's Friday the 13th.
So we need to officially
Oh, God.
end,
Yes, it
Friday
is.
the
End the
13th
rant.
And 2020.
We're ending the rant.
God.
All right. Game over.
All right. So I'm going to kick off the what we call 73 round, which is basically have a good day kind of thing. And I'm going to thank everyone for joining us tonight. If you happen to watch us late, please feel free to leave comments in the comment section on YouTube. We'll be glad to try to get back with you with those answers. Somebody's always checking on that. Or on our Jungle Chasers Facebook page, which is brand new, a week old. Look for us there. We also will take your questions there. As always, it's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed tonight. I think we aced this tonight, guys. And anyway, God bless. Have a fabulous week. And even though it is 2020, each day we wake up, the sun shines, our feet hit the floor is a blessed day. And I hope yours is. 73.
And I guess I'll go ahead and take it next. I just want to thank everyone for watching the show tonight. Hope you got a little bit of information out of it. Hopefully we entertained you a slight bit as well. Definitely, as Patty said, definitely if you're watching after the fact, do send in comments. Those do go to the channel. We get a little pop-up notification about it, and someone will get back with some feedback to you, as well as she did mention, the new Facebook Jungle Chasers page. Check that out as well. I have a feeling we're going to be putting a little bit of content on there. We'll definitely be putting postings about the live streams and everything, so do check that out. Other than that, I hope everyone does have a great rest of their evening, day. I know here, if you're out on the West Coast or other parts of the world, you've got a few more hours of daylight or before the evening, so enjoy those. And I'll just say 73 and thanks for watching.
All right. Well, I'm next, and so I mean, I could echo everything that Patty and Franklin is saying, but I do want to make sure that if you do like us, please subscribe, and as well share with your friends and family. We are working to get at least 50 subscribers by the end of the year, so we could use your help. And of course, anyone that that is interested in weather or even considering maybe the ham radio hobby, that kind of thing, let us be the ones to kind of maybe introduce them into that. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Until then, 73 from K0Z. Have a good evening.
Go ahead,
And
Kieran.
this is the B signing off. Make sure you do like, comment, and subscribe on the videos. Make sure you head over to our Facebook page and give that a like. Make sure you follow the notifications on there because there is a lot more to come. And we're just going to ride this train through the rest of the year.
There you go.
73 and have fun.
He said 73. That's so cool.
Yay!
Rubbing up on him somewhere.
It's been one of those weeks. I need to entertain myself.
Go ahead, Dan.
Learn lingo.
Go ahead,
Well,
Dan.
I hope everybody learns something. And, if you're watching and if you're not a weather spotter, be sure and check out, your local weather spotters and try to join the group. You'll learn a lot. And I hope everybody has a good evening.
Go ahead, Billy.
Well, I've enjoyed being here with you guys tonight and on the train, so to speak. It's traveling through the rest of the year. And be sure and like the page on Facebook or
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, everything. So we need those likes, and it's great being with you guys. 7-3s.
And this is Steve, KA0SPM. Thanks for joining us. Get on the Facebook page and click the like button and look forward to new content. And like and subscribe to YouTube. Thanks for being here. Appreciate everybody that joined us. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.